Hey everyone, welcome to the Super Review Show's Mixed Bag, coming to you live once again from the J Cave. I am joined by my good man, Bill Murphy.
What's going on, everyone?
Bill is doing just fine. He's in another part of his little bee cave, if you will, tonight. And but we're excited. By the way, guys, we the best.
We the best podcast.
We the best podcast. Hopefully everyone is doing well. We're so glad that you have joined us for another episode of Mixed Bag. If you're listening to us, welcome. But tonight's topic, Bill, why don't you do all the explaining of what tonight's topic is?
Okay, if you guys remember last week, we did shows we loved as kids, but hated. So you basically saw us rip on Barney last week.
Pretty much.
But today we're actually doing the opposite. We're doing movies and TV shows that we hated as kids, but we now love as adults. Because as we get older, our tastes change.
Yes, sir.
Our tastes change as we get older. So let's see how our tastes have changed, shall we?
Yeah, let's see. So I'm gonna let Bill go first because I gotta come right up, tell you guys right up front. I had a really this is a very difficult one for me personally. And because it's like such a hard thing to come up with some of these lists and stuff. But I gotta tell you the truth. I'm ready to see what Bill has in store for us tonight. So Bill, why don't you take it away with us? What is your first show or movie that you maybe you hated as a child, but you love now?
Okay, a show that I hated. Okay, I wouldn't really say I hated it when I was a kid, but
yeah,
of all the 90s Nicktoons, yeah, we're going way back here, folks.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The one show that I didn't like as a kid, but I actually like now.
Yeah.
Hey Arnold.
Interesting. Okay, let's go from Hey Arnold. Here we go. Gotcha.
Okay.
Hey,
all right, folks. Yeah, I know. I'm old.
You're fine. You're good, bud. You're good.
For those of you who don't know the show, it follows a kid named Arnold with a football-shaped head, with his nickname, Football Head. And it's just it's like a slice of life show. It's very just, a day in the life of Arnold and his friends. And I remember when I was a kid, I wouldn't really say I hated it, but compared to the other 90s Nicktoons like Rugrats and SpongeBob, which were all very bouncy and colorful, I kind of found this show when I was a kid boring. Okay. Because it wasn't like Rugrats or SpongeBob or Fairly Odd Parents. But looking back at it now, I think the slow pace is kind of warranted. And you know what? This show actually handled some pretty dark topics. Like, they had a character named Chocolate Boy who was addicted to chocolate, so they were using that as a allegory for drug addiction. Right. Arnold's bully, Helga, the girl with the pink dress, right here.
Right here, yeah.
Who it turns out that she was angry because she was struggling with parental abandonment because her parents favored her older sister over her. But you know what? It's like probably my favorite episode of this is, okay, Arnold lives with his grandparents, and we don't exactly know why until 2 episodes. One episode is called Parents' Day, which is there's like a parents competition, like a field day thing, and Arnold's there with his grandparents, and Helga's dad's going, well, those are not even his real parents. And then the story is that Arnold's parents actually were jungle explorers that went to San Lorenzo in South America, and And then when Arnold was born, they came back here, but then they were going back to help people, and then they just disappeared. And then in an episode called The Journal, which I call the unofficial series finale, they it's at the anniversary of when Arnold's parents disappeared, and they find this journal, and it's, you know, the whole story that we saw on Parents' Day, but it's more flushed out. But and then like at the end of the story, at the end of the episode, after Arnold's grandpa reads the journal to him, he goes outside on the front stoop and reads it himself, and then he finds a map. He said, "Oh my God, this might be where my parents are." But you know how many years we had to wait to find? You know how many years we had to wait, though?
How many, Bill?
14 years.
Oh my God.
Here's why. Well, because, okay, here's the thing. The suits at Nickelodeon and their infinite wisdom, the executives at Nickelodeon were originally going to have a movie about Arnold going to San Lorenzo to find his parents. They were originally going to have, because they wanted to do a Hey Arnold movie, but they decided, and they had two in mind: one for a theatrical release and one for a direct-to-video release or a TV release. Right. So they were originally going to do the film about Arnold finding his parents as a theatrical release. But again, the executives at Nickelodeon, in their infinite wisdom, decided to push it back and say, hey, you know what? Let's have this movie, Arnold Saves the Neighborhood, and see how it does. And you know what happened? The first Hey Arnold movie bombed at the box office. It bombed at the box office. It had nothing to do with this. It just bombed. And then they pushed out the last couple episodes with no fanfare, and it just went away for years until 2017, when the Hey Arnold Jungle movie was finally released.
Interesting. Okay.
And I remember when because this was like a rekindle of, because guys, folks, 90s nostalgia is very profitable nowadays.
It really is. Even 80s ones too.
Because after I finally when I saw the Jungle movie, I was like, whoa, this show was better than I thought. The Hey Arnold was better than I thought it was.
Interesting. Okay.
And you know what? Maybe because when I was a kid, I didn't like the slow pace. I didn't like but now you understand, but now you sort of appreciate the messages that they were trying to show on a kid's show of all places.
Right.
And that this was a show that handled pretty intense topics. And that's why I think this show will always have a special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome.
So that's my first pick. That was my memory lane for the first one.
Hey Arnold was your first pick. Do you want to go on? I'm thinking of a couple now, but if you want to go on, go ahead.
Why don't we alternate? I go, you go, you go, I go.
Sure. So I have two on the top of my head, but I'm going to go, and they're both live action. They're both from other decades. But some of you who listen to me and know me well enough, or know me in person, for those of you who do listen and know me in person, there was a time where I did not like this show. And I remember watching it when I was very young. Watching it when it was on TV, just reruns of the show. I wasn't sure what it was. It seemed like a really weird, colorful thing. And honestly, guys, it's going to surprise a lot of you who are listening. And I just thought of it now because originally I did not like this franchise at all. And now I love it. Star Trek.
Really?
The original series, I used to watch reruns of the original series of Star Trek. Not all the time, not frequently or whatever, but a good move because my grandfather, shout out to Pop Mahoney, he would have it on. And for the longest time possible, Billy Joel, don't rip me off. I did not like what I saw. I thought it was just weird. I thought it was a Star Wars ripoff type of thing. But then I grew up a little bit. I got a little older. I got a little wiser with my life choices, whatever. And I realized, this is actually a really brilliant science fiction and brilliant show. Whenever I talk about Star Trek, I primarily talk about the original series. I have seen the original series start to finish. I love it to death. It is some of the best TV show, ironically, because I didn't like it at first, some of the best television I've ever seen. And I've seen plenty of other shows and other parts of shows and whatnot. Others check out this season, this show, that show. Honest to God, I thought for this, I really thought it was like just crap, but then I learned to love it, and I thought to myself, this actually, I'm kind of surprised about how well I did. And I just want to give a shout out to two fine people who are in the chat board, Mr. Matt Hemsley and Asm of Earth. Welcome aboard, gentlemen.
They're back.
So glad to see you guys back here once again, as always. Thank you so much for joining us, as always.
Matt Hemsley hasn't been here in a while.
Matt Hemsley, it's good to hear from you again. Hopefully all is well with you, my friend. Star Trek. Like I said, I was just not a fan. I thought it was weird. Like it was like Spock looked weird to me. Like, and then over time I was like, let me check out a couple of the movies. What got me into Star Trek was the rebooted, and that's very unpopular to say, but the rebooted J.J. Abrams franchise. The moment I saw the first film, and not in theaters in 2009, but like I saw the first two films, Star Trek 2009, and I saw Star Trek Into Darkness. I was in. I said, this is a great franchise. I'm going to go back and rewatch a bunch of stuff. I'm currently binge watching The Next Generation, which was the second show they did with Patrick Stewart, where they say, make it so every other line, but yeah, Star Trek was one of those for me that I actually really grew to love over time. It took a long time, but I'm glad I came around to it. You know what I mean, Bill?
I absolutely know what you mean. You came around to it.
Yeah, and I learned to love it, even though I was like, this is a big thing. I'm not sure if I like it or whatever. It looks weird. But I will say, it's one of those shows you're like, huh. You look back and like the concept is kind of like, it's really smart, but it looks stupid at the time because probably because the effects, it was in the 60s and whatnot, but I grew up on it. I grew up to love it more. Chat board, if you have any suggestions for TV shows or movies that you hated when you were younger, or you just disliked when you were younger, but you came to know and love, sound off in the chat board. We'd love to hear your suggestions and take them at the end of the show. But yeah, Star Trek was the first one for me that I was like, this is just weird. What's a phaser, stuff like that. And I grew to love it. So that's my first pick, Bill, actually, is Star Trek. Because I originally I did not even know, I didn't like it that much. And then I grew up loving it. So over time. So, but yeah, Bill, what's your next pick after Hey Arnold, my friend?
Okay, we're gonna do a live action. I'm gonna do a live action show as well.
Okay.
Dun 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 dun. Law and Order.
Law and Order, really? There's the original one.
Yeah, I like SVU a little better, but
yeah, but you said like the original Law and Order TV show,
and SVU as well. Because let me tell you, when I was younger, this show was on in my house constantly.
Okay.
My parents watched it all the freaking time.
Wow.
And as a kid, I remember being in the room when they were watching it, and I just found it dull.
I could see that, to be honest. I've seen a couple episodes, but I could definitely see it.
As a kid, I just found this dull. And when I got older, I started watching it. And I'm like, whoa, this is interesting. And
yeah,
but you know what? I know if you're legal folks or any lawyers out there, I know the legal accuracy is questionable. But because I remember I took a criminology class when I was in community college.
Okay.
And I remember my professor said, listen, none of what you see on Law and Order, none of that's real. If you want that, go to acting school.
Interesting. All right.
Go to acting school. But you find it. I don't know if they show, because I don't know if they show these in law school classes or not. Probably not. But I always joke around by saying, listen, if you need an attorney, I can represent you. I never went to law school, but I've seen every episode of Law and Order. I could totally be your attorney. I've seen every episode of Law and Order.
That's funny.
I kind of like SVU better, but I will admit I think it's time for that show to end.
We talked about that I think we were talking about shows that should end. I think that was one of the shows we talked about.
Yeah, it was after I made my prediction of the future.
Yes, good job, Bill. Proud of you.
Yeah, remember, folks, I'm a psychic.
Bill is a psychic. Everyone, let's not forget it.
So anyway, but Law and Order, I think it's really interesting. And again, I don't know the legal aspects of everything. I don't know how true they are. I didn't go to law school. I'm not a lawyer, but I play on a podcast. No, I don't. So yeah, Law and Order is my pick for sure. Just found dull when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I actually like now that I'm an adult.
Cool. No, it's good. Good for you, man. I'm glad you.
Because you know what? A lot of these shows, I wouldn't really say I hated them. Like, okay, this one I hated when I was a kid because it was on constantly.
Yeah, it's on loop.
And I remember saying to my parents, "Can we turn on something else?"
Yeah.
And like, shh, Jack McCoy's talking. Oh my god. But yeah, a lot of these shows, I wouldn't really say they're shows I hated. They're just shows that when I was younger, I found dull.
Yeah, you just had no interest in them.
But once you get older, you start knowing more shit. All right, what's your next one, my friend?
I just want to say thank you for all of you in the chat board giving us many suggestions on shows that you hated. Oh, excuse me, you loved as a child, but now you hated as a child, but now you love. Chat board, you are doing an excellent job tonight. We'll get to your live questions at the end of the show. My next pick, Bill. I want to give a complete and utter shout out to my grandmother who passed away several years ago. So shout out to you, Teresa Albano. This is for you. Monk. You ever heard of Monk?
I've heard of Monk.
No, not the actual like Monk, but
no, I know what you're talking about. The guy who's like OCD.
Yeah, like the guy, the criminologist, whatever his name is. I got to tell you the truth, Bill. First off, it was from 2002 to what? 2009. Okay, so I was very young at the time, but I do remember when it was on. I was like, this is weird. He's a psychic. Plug for Bill. He's a psychic, whatever. I don't understand what he's doing. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm not sure. Like, it looked strange to me. It looked, okay, he's solving crimes, but in a very weird way with Tony Shalhoub, who I thought was great in this show, by the way. Mr. Monk, I would later re-enter my life with my grandmother who lived with us for a little while. She loved Monk, Bill. Like the way that you love like the way you love like certain shows that you cherish to your heart. This was one for her. She loved talking about Monk, and Monk was one of those shows where my family can testify, ladies and gentlemen. My family can testify. Monk was on in her house before she moved up here. Monk was on all the time. She adored Monk, and how Monk played a role in my life because towards the end of her life, before she had to be severely hospitalized, I ended up watching a lot of Monk with her, and I found a deep appreciation for the show. And now, whenever it's on TV Land or whatever channel it comes on, I always tend to watch Monk, and I think about all the good times about her laughing, and and her thinking of Tony Shalhoub, and all the good times of like just overall loving the show, and the good times bring me back with her. I didn't spend too much time with her because at the time she lived far away. Now she's back, and before she passed away, of course. But I want to give a complete another shout out to you up there, and I want to say, Monk, you have changed my mind there, Grammy. Monk is a great show. Originally, I had no idea what it was. I didn't really like it, but Monk is one of those shows that I thought was strange at first, but now I was like, you know what? I can appreciate it. Monk is one of those dear shows now that I do watch on reruns quite a bit sometimes.
No offense, JT. I never really got into Monk.
Yeah, Bill, no offense taken. This is like one of those weird, strange shows that some people watch and some people didn't. That's all good. But it was a very neat show, to be honest. I ain't saying neat, but it was a very cool show to watch for what it was worth. And shout out to my grandmother for my recently deceased grandmother for introducing me to Monk. It is forever in my mind. Thank you. But yeah, Monk. I mean, Bill, what's any opinions of Monk at all, or no?
I may have watched an episode or two, but I never really got into it.
Gotcha. It's a very funny show. It's like a crime show, but it's a funny show at the same time. He can like see stuff. He's got PTSD and stuff like that. It's really cool. Really, really.
I should give it a watch.
It's like solving crime, but in a funny way. If you think he solves crimes like he noticed things that the detectives don't. He's like a weird cop. He's really cool. So I recommend it. Anyways, that's my next pick. Monk. Bill, what is your number 3 pick? Correct? 3 pick. What's your number 3 pick?
Okay. So if you guys remember, I think it was 2 years ago, I did a whole month when I reviewed the Rankin Bass specials.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that or not.
I remember that.
And one special that I said that when I was a kid, I just found this boring as hell. But now watching it as an adult, I can really appreciate it. And that's The Little Drummer Boy.
Is this a movie or TV show?
The TV special.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Little Drummer Boy. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But for those of you who are listening to us, if you don't know what we're talking about, just do a quick Google search of The Little Drummer Boy Christmas special, and it'll come up. I know which one you're talking about now, Bill.
Yeah, when I was a kid, just compared to Rudolph and Frosty and Santa Claus is Coming to Town, this one was probably my least favorite.
I could see why, to be honest with you.
Really? How can you see why?
Like, it just doesn't look that appealing as the other ones did. You know what I mean?
It's just when I was a kid, I said this a lot, I kind of found this one boring. I found this just boring. Because it wasn't like Rudolph or Frosty, didn't have the bouncy, bright colors.
Right, I gotcha.
But I could appreciate the darker story.
Right.
For those of you who haven't seen it, Aaron, the Little Drummer Boy, his parents were killed when he was a kid, and now he hates all humans until he gets wrapped up by a circus troupe who basically use him for entertainment. Then when he finally escapes, his lamb gets injured and decides to play for, and told by one of the kings to play for Jesus to save his lamb's life. And I gotta tell you, to this day, I dare you to watch that scene without crying. Now, as an adult, I will admit that makes me cry. It's just It's that when when the little drummer boy brings the lamb to the king, goes, "Your Majesty, you got to help me. My lamb is injured. Please help him." He goes, "Your lamb is near death. There's really nothing I can do. Sorry." Goes, "But you are a king." Goes, "A mortal king only. But there is a king amongst kings." And then he points to the stable, and he goes, "The babe, but I don't understand." And he goes, "It's not necessary for you to understand. Go." He goes, "But I don't have no gift to bring." He said, "Go, graze upon the newborn king." And then you hear that gorgeous Vienna Boys Choir version of the song. It's just, as soon as he says, "Oh, graze upon the newborn king," then blum, blum, bum, bum, blum, bum, baby, hey, bum, 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 bum. Like, whoa. It's just that when I watched this when I was a kid, I just found it boring.
Right.
Because I didn't understand. I didn't understand this. And then when I watched it again as an adult, just like a few years ago, I'm like, whoa. And, a lot of has changed in stop motion since then, but this is still pretty impressive.
Interesting.
And yeah, there's going to be another stop motion movie coming up next, folks. You'll see it. Right. Okay, JT, what's yours, my friend?
I'm gonna go back to live action TV shows for a second. After this one, I'm struggling to pick one. I might pick a movie, so forgive me. I might, depending on how I'm feeling about it. Honestly, I mean, now that all this stuff has come out about him, this is prior to the announcement and stuff regarding what came out recently about this man. But before all that stuff came out, Bill, the Cosby Show.
Oh boy,
I know. I'm not going to talk about Bill and what happened with him, but what I'm going to say is this: this is a show that I saw on reruns, and I saw over the course of just chips away. Because I was, for those who don't know, I was very much raised on TV shows from like the 90s and 80s and stuff like that, like such as Seinfeld, Cheers, Frasier. That's kind of like my big wheelhouse. But the Cosby Show was a show that, look, everything about Bill Cosby now is awful. But what happened, the show itself, I got to tell you, Cosby Show is a show that I actually really thoroughly liked watching. Like whenever it was on TV, like whenever it would come on a rerun of a channel or whatever, like I would watch it. And at first I was like, okay. And then it said, then as you get older, certain shows have certain humor in them that rub off on you. And a lot of this humor in the show rubbed off on me personally. Obviously everything that came out with Bill Cosby now, we're not going to get into that, but because we're not here to talk about stuff like that. We're here to talk about fun, entertaining things such as movies, TV shows, and music. That's what we do here. But the Cosby Show for me was one of those shows that I really, over the course, as you get older, you watch it more, and you're like, oh yeah, it's funny. Like, because at first you don't laugh because you're so young, but when you get older, you watch it, and you're like, oh my god, that's actually really funny. And there's some of the dance moves, and what came out about all this, like this, what a fantastic show this was. It was a really great show. I'm of the opinion that it's timeless for what it is, and it really showed what life was like, and it pushed boundaries in other shows because it was like I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was one of the first all black sitcoms, I think, and that it pushed boundaries in that way, which was a fantastic thing. So that's just my humble opinion. Bill, do you have any opinions of the Cosby Show? Not of Bill, but I think Bill Cosby's a phenomenal comedian aside from what happened with him. But yeah, I think that this show is really good personally. And I originally didn't like it because the humor didn't hit me until I was older. But Bill, what do you think?
Okay, well, my thoughts is I kind of liked it when I was. Well, actually, no, I never. Maybe I watched a couple episodes here and there,
Right.
but I was never really like into it. Like I watched a couple episodes here and there, but
Yeah.
nothing.
Nothing stood out to you.
Yeah, I maybe gave me a chuckle here and there, but
Yeah. No, I got you.
you know what? But I'll be honest with you. When there's reruns of the Cosby Show on now, I can't watch it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I watched a lot of it well before what happened with Bill Cosby came out. So I'm like, I kind of stopped watching it myself. I'm sure like the viewership of the show itself has gone downhill since what came out happened. So
Yeah, but it. I just, in good conscience, cannot. If this
it's hard.
on,
It's hard. It's hard to rewatch something that at the time was so innocent. Yet what happened?
and now it turned out that Mr. Cosby is a creepazoid.
Yeah. So we're not going to get into it, but
You get the point.
Yeah, I get the point. But yeah, I like the show for what it was worth, but I can't watch it anymore. Like you said, so it's hard to watch.
Here anymore. Yeah, it's
tough.
Yeah, this show is kind of the show now. Just I can't watch it with that. Okay, are you ready for me?
It's your turn, but I'm gonna let you know right now. I'm having a hard time thinking of anything else. So if you want to,
Yeah, sorry, I'm picking on like animated stuff. I just
whatever you want to do. I mean, I can't. Like I said, Bill, if you can't think of anything after your next pick, we'll just go to the chat board, right?
I actually got two more picks, actually.
Okay, then because I'm all done. I have said my two, my three, or whatever. That's all I got. Because I mean, I can't. Movies I'm drawing a blank on right now. I'm sure.
Okay, and this one,
but yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I think this movie is appropriate to talk about, but I'm not going to talk about it too much because I might do an editorial on it soon.
Yeah,
and I think it's appropriate because it involves two holidays. One of them just passed.
Go on.
And the other one is right around the corner. And I'm, of course, talking about, get this, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that.
I'm not going to get into too much stuff because I might do an editorial on this like soonish.
I hope you do, because I feel like you're such a wonderful input to this channel, and I want you to. I'd love for you to do an editorial if you can. If not, it's fine. So
yeah, but yeah, it's I also did a Burton month review of this on my channel. If you want to plug for Movieholics Productions,
yep,
go check that out. For those of you who don't know the story, Jack Skellington is the Pumpkin King of Halloween. And he is just tired and bored of doing the same thing. And one day he stumbles into the world of different holidays and goes into Christmas Town. He falls in love with it, and he decides that he's going to have Christmas to himself this year. And you know what? When I was a kid, because I'll be honest, this movie scared me when I was a kid.
Same here, buddy. Same here.
Really?
Yeah. You know what that means, right?
We swiped right.
You better believe we did tonight, buddy. We did.
JT, we swiped right.
I know. It's like 3 weeks in a row, buddy. Who's buying you dinner?
I'll buy.
All right. Fair enough.
What do you?
We'll get pizza.
Okay. Sounds good. Miss jealous, is she?
You're fine. Go ahead. So Nightmare Before Christmas.
This movie scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
Me too.
And I, at all costs, would avoid watching it. But then as I got older, I started watching it, and a lot of the stuff, the characters, the story, the art style, the music, like I have no shame in saying this, JT. Like I will, if I'm watching this movie, and I watched it the other night for Halloween, I will, and I have no shame about this, buddy, no shame. I will be in my room, I will be down here, door locked, singing along to all the songs.
Data boy.
And I am not ashamed to say that.
Good for you.
But yeah, it's just that when you get older, you appreciate the art style. You appreciate the Burton style.
Yeah.
I can hear the complaints from here. Wait a minute. Tim Burton didn't direct The Nightmare Before Christmas, asshole.
Oh my God.
Okay, yeah, he technically didn't. It was Henry Selick. But if you look at this, he produced it. He wrote the original story. He wrote the poem. And the title of the film is Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. Hello.
So I really like this movie. It's really... And yeah, it scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Okay. Do you have another one, or can I do my next one?
I'm all set for the night. If you want to say your last pick, and then we'll go to the chat board for a couple questions and stuff. You can. That's
okay.
Fine. What's your last?
This is another Disney movie, and I've gushed about this movie a lot on this channel.
Yes, talk about it.
I think you know what it is.
Hunchback.
Yep.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I remember watching this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And when I was watching this when I was a kid, because I remember my first grade teacher showed this to us when I think it was raining and we couldn't go outside for recess or something, and I just again found it dull
At first.
Yeah, and I didn't really understand it. And now watching it, lady, why would you show a bunch of 6-year-olds a movie about a man with a sexual obsession who wants to jerk off to a sexy fireplace?
Okay.
No, the Hellfire Number. It's about a man who is sexually oppressed.
Oh, never mind.
But once you look at it, this movie, the look of it is absolutely gorgeous. The music, I've said this 1,000 times. This probably has the best Disney soundtrack. And controversial opinion, I think it's even better than The Lion King. I know, drop your hate comments here. But the soundtrack, not just the song, the scores, they sound like, I've said this before, a lot of the scores was actually recorded in a cathedral.
Yeah.
With the choir, and it sounds absolutely freaking gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a movie that is one of Disney's darkest, and it's more for adults. So I think maybe that's why, as a kid, I really didn't like it that much. But now as an adult, I love it.
Awesome.
And okay, I'm going to give you one more. And then
all right, what do you got? What's the one more?
And this was a thing as a show that I just really didn't get when I was a kid. Seinfeld.
I could see that.
This is just one of those shows when I was a kid, I just didn't get the humor. I felt like a lot of it just...
I mean, of course, every show takes time. I totally see that.
But as I got older, I learned to appreciate the intelligence of the show.
Yeah, it's a brilliant show. Fantastic.
Yeah, I know you love it.
It's one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Yeah, so as I got older, I really grew to appreciate this show. It's the characters are memorable. The humor is absolutely great.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Seinfeld. That's my last one. So you ready to go to the chat board?
Yeah, let's jump over to the chat board for this. So chat board, you guys have been chatting up a little bit tonight. We don't normally get time for the chat board, but I'm glad we do. First things first, Asm of Earth, thank you so much for commenting. Regular show and Adventure Time. I did not like it first, but I had a very quick turnaround after watching a few episodes of them. So regular show is on Cartoon Network.
And Adventure Time.
And we'll get to Adventure Time in a second. I could see that. I mean, I was never a Cartoon Network kid. I never really liked them. Unpopular opinion right there, but I just never grew on Cartoon Network. I never really liked them that much. But at the same time, Adventure Time and regular show and Adventure, we'll get to Adventure Time in a second, but regular show, I definitely could see where you're coming from. It lasted like what, 6 or 7 seasons? Because it went from 2009 to 2017. So, yeah, it was a shorter lived cartoon show than most last. But well, I shouldn't say that because some last only like 2 or 3 seasons. Anyways, I cannot comment for the show itself because I haven't seen it myself, but I can definitely understand where you're coming from. It's just a lot of the Cartoon Network shows are a little weird to say from the get-go, but hey, yeah, that's everyone's opinion. And Adventure Time, I remember when it first came out, and Bill, this is a little bit past your time, I would say. No offense, bud. But
I'm taking.
Adventure Time is what I remember the advertisements for it on TV and Adventure. What time is it? Adventure Time. Like I would always like say that in school and whatnot because it was a show that came out. It honestly just looked weird. I can't comment on the show stuff, so I can't say anything about it. But I will say it did look a little weird with the dog and the kid and whatnot. And I didn't know the characters, but hey, everyone's got their opinions. And it lasted 8 seasons. Holy crap! Adventure Time lasted 8 from 2010 to 2018. Jesus Christ. That's crazy. But I mean, honestly, hey, everyone's got their opinions. Cartoon shows have their opinions. I think some underrated cartoon shows are like Danny Phantom, to be honest with you. And the first
I think that's really good.
That's a really underrated show too, as far as Cartoon Network, as far as cartoon shows go. And the first 3 or 4 seasons of Fairly Odd Parents were pretty good. Then it got weird. But
God, it really got weird.
It got very weird after like the 4th season of stuff. Anyways, but like SpongeBob, same thing. First 3 or 4 seasons were great, and then the next 20 were awful. Like after the best ever. Matt Hamsley in the chat board. Thank you so much for commenting as usual. I disliked Friends for a long time, but I've been watching it recently.
Oh, I remember Matt hates Friends.
Friends, I mean, the thing about Friends to me is that the actual premise of the show, I mean, yes, I understand it. Like it's about like a show. It's a show about these 6 friends who are in like a New York apartment and whatnot. I totally get it. But like my personal opinion, my opinion of Friends has not changed. I still don't like it. It's just my opinion. I wasn't raised on like I remember watching it. I prefer, and this is a very weird thing to say, but at a very young age, I just preferred Seinfeld over Friends at like an age of like 7 or 8. I'm not sure why. I just that's the way it was to me.
So you were very advanced.
Some might say I was very advanced. Friends. Funny thing. One thing that always bugged me, and this is just a little pet peeve of mine. I think Bill and I talked about this when we had Danny Boy Reginald on for our overrated TV shows discussion. Overrated TV shows was there's these 6 people living in this New York apartment, right? And they all try and have it's a big apartment. Who the hell's paying the rent? Like that's one of my biggest flaws of that show. And I've heard the moment I heard that, I was like, that just makes no sense. I'm not going to watch it. Because like they're all struggling to find pay or find a job or whatever. And yet they own this huge Manhattan apartment. Bill,
you know how much like that apartment would cost in Manhattan?
Like legit, tell me.
I don't know, but it would cost a lot of money.
Like it's way too much. In the middle of Manhattan, like my cousin had an apartment in Manhattan. It was a studio. It was probably like the size, like it was nowhere near the size of like your average like thing, So it was just that plot point never made sense to me. I never liked Friends from the get-go. I'm sorry, it's an unpopular opinion, but someone brought it up, so I want to think.
Yeah, but that is a good point. And plus, again, that's just depressing because I don't think anyone in the right mind could afford an apartment like that.
No, and plus, like it's got like it has a look at like an outer ledge part. You can look at stuff. I don't know. That's just crazy. I don't even know. The show itself, like I just the whole premise never made sense to me. Sorry guys, but that's me. Bill, do you have any other suggestions? Because that's all the stuff from the chat board. Do you have anything else you want to share?
No, but except okay, this is a little off base, but
Yeah,
I
one
want to
more for you.
actually talk about a show that I should have talked about last week
What show?
when we did shows that we loved as kids but hated as adults.
Yeah, what is it?
And I just thought of this today. And I'm sorry we're going backwards here, folks, but
Really quick.
Full House.
Oh, okay. I could see that.
I used to love this show as a kid. I just freaking now I can't even watch this. I can't watch the show.
Honestly, I'll tell you the truth, Bill. I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad you said this, Bill, because honestly, the name of tonight's episode is movies and TV shows we hated as kids, but now we love. I just never liked a Full House to begin with.
Yeah, so I'm going back to last week, but I didn't think of it last week until tonight.
Oh, you're fine. But I never like.
Oh God, it's just starring Bob Saget, and it's so funny. If you watch Bob Saget's stand-up, he's not Danny Tanner. He's very raunchy.
Yeah, so.
And then you have Dave Coulier, and you have John Stamos, a.k.a. wannabe Beach Boy.
That's a long story.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
When the Beach Boys take tours with them.
Yeah, because I was actually just watching Todd of the Shadows' Train Records today on the Beach Boys. And because there was a Beach Boys song that he covered. It was called Forever.
I know that song.
Yeah, it was written by the late Dennis Wilson. But, God, quoting Doug Walker, a.k.a. the Nostalgia Critic, this is the life of people in picture frames.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
No real conflicts, no real problems, nothing.
It's fluffy TV.
You know, if it makes you feel good, then who am I to judge? If you like it, go ahead and like it. But I just don't find this show appealing anymore.
I don't blame you. Any other last?
And then the sequel.
Oh,
and then
let's not even go there.
Good idea.
Let's not even go to Fuller House. Worst idea ever.
It is the laziest. It's like
I'm not even going to talk about it.
It's like, hey, instead of 3 men raising 3 girls, let's do 3 women raising 3 boys, and we'll throw in a token girl. But we present the laziest idea to ever be on TV.
Oh, yeah. Or Netflix, for that matter.
On Netflix. So, yeah. That is, I think that's all quoting Phil Collins. That's all.
That's all I got, man. That's all I got as well.
That's all we got for you tonight, folks.
It was a kind of a quick wrap tonight. It was a very, Bill, believe it, this is our shortest show ever. We've gone for about literally 47 minutes.
Yeah, sorry it's been so quick tonight.
No, yeah. So sorry for the quick night, guys. But I have to say, though, ultimately, it's what you guys have to say. Sound off in the comment section below and share your thoughts with us all the time on our Instagram and Twitter, simply at The Super Review Show on Instagram, at Super Review Show on Twitter. And if you haven't already, subscribe to his channel, Movieholics Productions. He does some great content out there. He did the Rankin Bass specials not too long ago for Christmas time for last year. He might do it again this year. Who knows? We'll see. Bill, you are always my right-hand man. I want to thank you for joining me.
And also, guess what time it is?
Bill, are you talking about your podcast?
Check out the Sports Insanity podcast on all platforms. Check us out. We're awesome.
Yep.
And also don't forget tomorrow night to watch Thursday Night Gridiron.
Oh, yeah. They do a good job over there at the Sports Insanity Network.
We're a network.
Yeah. The Super Review Show is one thing, but having a network, that's good stuff.
We're in the network. Yeah.
They are the newsroom.
We pretty much are.
Yeah.
So that is our show for tonight, folks.
Anyways, thank you so much for watching and listening to all of us from all around the world, to right for your hearts, to your phones, your Spotify podcast. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys next week with a brand new topic. If you haven't already, check out our YouTube channel, and we have different polls up as well for you to check out what our topic could be for next week moving forward. Thank you so much.